Serverless computing security, challenges and best practices. Introduction. Serverless computing is a cloud-based computing model that allows developers to build and run applications without having to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure. This model has become increasingly popular due to its scalability, cost-effectiveness, and flexibility. However, with these benefits come security challenges that need to be addressed to ensure the security of the applications and data that are being processed in a serverless environment. In this video, we will discuss the challenges and best practices for serverless computing security. Serverless computing security, challenges and best practices. Challenge 1: Authentication and Authorization. One of the biggest challenges in serverless computing security is authentication and authorization. In a serverless environment, applications are broken down into smaller functions that are executed in response to events. This means that the authentication and authorization mechanisms need to be implemented at the function level, rather than at the application level. Best Practice 1: Implement access control. To address this challenge, it is important to implement access control mechanisms that restrict access to the functions based on the user's identity, role, and permissions. The use of tokens and role-based access control (RBAC) can help to ensure that only authorized users have access to the functions. Challenge 2: Data protection. Data protection is another significant challenge in serverless computing security. With data being processed and stored in a cloud environment, there is a risk of data leakage or unauthorized access. Best Practice 2: Implement encryption. To ensure data protection, it is important to implement encryption mechanisms to protect sensitive data both in transit and at rest. The use of transport layer security (TLS) and encryption at rest can help to prevent data breaches and ensure that data is secure. Challenge 3: Monitoring and logging. In a serverless environment, it can be challenging to monitor and log the activities of the functions, as they are executed independently and asynchronously. This makes it difficult to track the execution of the functions and identify potential security threats. Best Practice 3: Implement monitoring and logging. To address this challenge, it is important to implement monitoring and logging mechanisms that track the execution of the functions and capture relevant events and activities. The use of log aggregation tools and event-driven monitoring can help to ensure that the activities of the functions are captured and monitored. Challenge 4: Third-party dependencies. In a serverless environment, applications are composed of multiple functions that may rely on third-party dependencies. This creates a risk of introducing vulnerabilities or security weaknesses into the application. Best Practice 4: Implement third-party dependency management. To address this challenge, it is important to implement a robust third-party dependency management mechanism that ensures that only trusted dependencies are used in the application. This can include regular vulnerability scans and audits of the dependencies to identify and mitigate potential security threats. Challenge 5: Denial of service (DoS) attacks. Denial of service (DoS) attacks are a common security threat in serverless environments. As the functions are executed in response to events, it is possible for an attacker to flood the application with events, causing it to become unresponsive or crash. Best Practice 5: Implement rate limiting and throttling. To address this challenge, it is important to implement rate limiting and throttling mechanisms that restrict the number of requests that can be processed by the functions. This can help to prevent DoS attacks and ensure that the application remains responsive and available. Challenge 6: Vulnerability management. Vulnerability management is an ongoing challenge in serverless computing security. As new vulnerabilities are discovered and patched, it is important to ensure that the functions and dependencies are up to date and patched accordingly. Best Practice 6: Implement patch management. To address this challenge, it is important to implement a robust patch management process that ensures that the functions and dependencies are regularly scanned and patched to address any known vulnerabilities. This can include automated vulnerability scanning and patching, as well as manual audits to identify and mitigate any potential security threats. Conclusion. In conclusion, serverless computing offers numerous benefits for developers, including scalability, cost-effectiveness, and flexibility. However, it also presents several security challenges that need to be addressed to ensure the security of the applications and data being processed in a serverless environment. By implementing best practices such as access control, encryption, monitoring and logging, third-party dependency management, rate limiting and throttling, and patch management, organizations can help to ensure the security of their serverless applications and data. Serverless computing security, challenges and best practices is a critical consideration for any organization that is using or planning to use serverless computing technology. By following the best practices outlined in this video, organizations can minimize the risks associated with serverless computing and ensure the security of their applications and data.